sorry for the little delay. We want to give time for the state broadcaster to set up.
I don't know the language.
There was some fictitious.
Yes. So man, this one is a difference of general in history. But what is happening?
The last game of Union was at the stadium.
Yes, that was the last. Because Sri Lanka was a meeting. Still also.
So it's over and wow. So whoever wants to be in the challenge.
Well, there is the protest. But they took a lot of protest.
I think now we are moving on.
But we will not start.
Like I said, beginning with an introduction of members of the high table. The President, Mr. Kabawadu, flanked on his right is the first Vice President Alhaji Bakari Kejani. On his left is the third Vice President, General Langton Bontamba. Executive Committee Member Alhaji Sadi Tamaso, the General Secretary Ramin M. Jassi, my colleagues, the Director of Competitions, Balkan Perjayo, Protocol Officer, Mohamed Senior, Admin Officer, my colleague, Communication Assistant Ibrahim Suare, IT Officer Omar Toure. We welcome all media representatives from all the media establishments in the country. We thank you for coming. Today's agenda of the press conference, as stated in the press release, is the Gambia Vs Gabon game, but more specifically, the incidences that happened at the airport by the Gabonese players and officials. And I want to bring on the President of the Gambia Football Federation, Mr. Lam Kababadu, who is the principal speaker, to make a statement on this matter, and that will be followed by questions and answers from members of the press. Mr. President, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Acting Director of Marketing and Communication, Mr. Balde, colleagues, First Vice President and Second Vice President, and Mr. Kamaso, members of the GFF Executive Committee, our General Secretary and staff, ladies and gentlemen of the press, good morning. We once again thank you very much for honoring our invitation at a very short notice. This shows the importance you attach to the subject matter. The purpose of this press conference is to clarify our position on the avoidable incident between the Gabonese national team delegation and the public health officials at the Banjul International Airport on the eve of our African Cup of Nations match against Gabon last Monday. A lot has been said on the matter that has generated massive international media attention, who only relied, or most of whom relied upon the version as stated by the star football player, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, shared with his followers on social media. It is against this backdrop that we call this press conference to say the facts as they were, including the unfair treatment meted out on our delegation during the first leg in Gabon. Otherwise, we would have waited for the ongoing investigation to take its course to avoid, to avoid interfering in it. As we are all aware, CAF has referred the matter to its disciplinary committee. During this pandemic, countries have their own standard practice when someone entering a country. On top of that, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has adopted its own requirements with regards to COVID-19 tests in line with FIFA standards and protocols. Thus, the CAF rule states unequivocally that any individual who is departing from a country or area or transiting through a country or area with current COVID-19 community transmission status must provide confirmation of a negative PCR test result conducted no earlier than 72 hours before departure. The new rules also subject team delegations, match officials, and match appointees to another mandatory PCR test that should be conducted no earlier than 48 hours before the match, and participants' access to the stadium, which result CAF said must be made available 2 hours before the departure to the stadium. It is a result of these rules that every member of our delegation flew into Gabon on time and with negative COVID-19 test result. But even with that, they were subjected to 2 separate tests both at the airport and at the hotel. Because of the respect that we have for the laws of their country, we complied without hesitation and hope that they would act in the spirit of fair play. It was at this second testing at the hotel that one of our key players, Suleiman Mar, returned positive, despite entering with a negative result conducted in Belgium prior to his travel. He did a third test last Saturday, which purportedly came out positive. He's still stranded in a hotel in Libreville. I want to also state that the Gambia Football Federation had on numerous occasions attempted to ensure the cooperation of its Gabonese partners to communicate their arrival information to make sure all necessary arrangements were made for their smooth transportation from the airport and throughout their stay in the country. But all efforts proved futile. I also want to be on record to inform you that neither their advanced party team nor their ambassador or their ministers' arrival details were communicated to us. Thus, we are not aware of them arriving into the country. All we know that they were on the main list, but when they were arriving, we never knew. The ambassador came into the country without notice of the GFF. The minister came into the country without notice to the GFF. Thus, he couldn't be accorded the necessary protocol. And worst of all, the advanced party who came into the country to prepare the ground for their march came in, they never called at the GFF, they never contacted the GFF. They did everything on their own without consulting us, which it is unprecedented in football. Thus, we provided, as per the regulations, we should provide them with a bus and a second vehicle for the officials. But our vehicles were left abandoned because they went and made their own arrangements without even consulting us. So I think this is very important. The whole minister entered into the country without the notice, formal notice of the Federation, I'm not sure of even of the government, because Gambian protocol and hospitality, forces us to ensure that we provide the necessary protocol. And I think that's really is a breach of our diplomatic protocol. And also, the first date they announced was arrival on the 14th. That's the early hours, late night on the 13th. That was the day the match was played on the 12th. They announced that we are arriving here after the match. They are coming. In fact, they will be coming together, almost following with our team to arrive here on the 13th. It's on record. They changed. They communicated that we are coming on the 14th. They changed. They said they are coming on the 15th at 2000 hours, 8 p.m. Until 09:35, we never had any communication with them, from them. We instructed the General Secretary to write to CAF to inform them of our frustrations for the Gabonese delegation not communicating their arrival time, because we are trying to avoid the possibility of any lapse on our side that we arrive, we are not received here and there. But notwithstanding, the GFF protocol officer was sent to the airport, and the only information we could get were from the control tower. We are giving 10 o'clock and later midnight. And my information is that they arrived
5 minutes to 12.
5 minutes to 12. 23:55, as opposed to the claim by my colleague who said they arrived at 11:45. But the records at the control tower will not lie. They arrived 5 minutes to midnight, surprising us. I think it's very important. And as per the information we received from the health officers at the airport, when they arrived, like any other passenger, you must provide or produce to the health official a certificate to show that you are COVID-19 negative, which should not be earlier than 72 hours for any traveler, which they refused to hand over there. They understand they were just holding it, say, these are our players, and the other folder, these are for the officials. That's an insult to our sovereignty. It's an insult to our laws, because it never happened. Our first batch that arrived in Libreville were tested at the airport. And they insisted that we're going to test the whole delegation there. If they should go home and make arrangements with their public health officials to make sure that the second batch that came will be tested at the hotel, that's their own prerogative. We wish we had that opportunity from them to give us that opportunity also to have that plan. When we got frustrated and not knowing when they will arrive, and in order to meet the deadline for the provision of the test result before the March, we know our capacity, a third world country like ours, we are not very sophisticated. We know it's going to take several hours before the samples will be tested and the results out. We don't want to be found wanting for not providing the test results of the players and officials as stipulated before the March, as stipulated by the regulation. Hence, the decision of the public health officials to mobilize a team for a fast-track purpose to ensure that when they arrive at the airport, the specimens will be taken and the process overnight so that the result will be available in time for the match. That's the reason. That's the main reason. When they arrive, adding insult to injury was when they refused to hand over their test results, which they claimed were negative, and that brought us suspicion. And then they said, no, if you cannot provide us with your test result, like any other passenger, then we cannot allow it to go in. Then, in fact, you have to do the test. I don't want to talk for the public's health, but we are all aware of the protocols. Even where you provide a test result from, where would I say, from WHO, if the health officer on the ground is not certified, he can force you to do another test, he can send you into quarantine to do this is what our law said. So it's not a question of X has passed through the airport, he was not tested, and Y also passed. That's not my business. That's entirely in the purview of the health officials. A little after 1 a.m., the ambassador called me, and then was saying that we are here for several hours and the people wouldn't let us go. I said, what happened? They said about the test. And talk to your colleague. He passed the phone to my colleague, the president of the Gambia Football Federation. He repeated the same thing. I said, okay, give me time, let me find out, because I didn't know what was happening. Let me find out, I know what's happening. Then this time I called the GS and I started consulting. I was told that they arrived, they would want to surrender their test results, and they would also want to do the test at the airport. Then before I called back, he called again. I told him, my colleague, my brother, because we are very good friends. Myself and Perry, we are very good friends. If you want to compare it, we are in the same VU in CAF, I will say that, because we hang out together. He's a good friend of mine, definitely I can say that. He is a good friend of mine. I told my brother, I have found out, but I understand it's a health issue. And these are things that are beyond us. Can you comply? He said, okay, we'll do it, but this is Africa, and we will see. This is Africa, c'est l'Afrique, on va voir. Mais on va faire le test, mais on va voir. This is what he told me. I said, okay, merci. Désolé pour l'inconvénient, mais il faut le faire. Then, I thought it's close. I went back to bed. After a while, I think I called you or you called me. Yes, whoever. I didn't sleep that night. He called me and said, yes, there's still a stalemate. I said, what happened? I think he was going to tell me, these things are doing. He said, no, they are still refusing. They said they are not going to test. And now, Obama and others are viral on the social media, showing photos. I said, okay, that's their wish. That's what they want. They want to add another feather onto their popularity, maybe, with all due respect to them. So that's how it started unfolding. We talked, and then after GS called me again, I spoke to the chairman of the medical committee, who's in touch with the medical staff on the ground. The same thing were manifested, that they refused to hand over their purportedly negative test result of COVID-19 to the health official. Which country, who dares travel any part of this world and refuse to do that? Where? I've been traveling recently during this COVID period. You don't even think about it. You're even worried whether they will even accept it, whether they will not say it's late or it's forged. Because they have the power. So then that's how it all started. And then later in the day, later in the morning, I understand, I got a call again. I think their minister came in and the ambassador to appeal to the public health officers now, let them allow the boys to go, let them allow them to go to the hotel in the morning, they will do the test. Fine, that's between them. But I don't know, even if they will not test, that's not even my business. If the public health officials will grant that respect and honor to the minister in his party and ambassador, then fine. That's very well in line with protocols and good neighborliness or good bilateral relationship. We didn't have any hand in that. And they went to the hotel. And then to yet another surprise, that in the morning when the test team mobilized to the hotel, they refused. They said no, they are not going to do the test because they had a 48 hours, a valid test result that they could use for the match and other things. So there's dishonesty in that. Why would the minister fool the public health official, promised that they were going to do the test at the hotel, and in the end, then renegade on it? Why would my colleague also, with all due respect to my very good friend, Pierre Alain, deceive me, assuring me that they were going to comply at the airport, only to renegade on it? If I had known that he wouldn't do it, maybe something would have happened. But that's the reality. And we all know about what the rest. When they come for the match committee coordination meeting here, the match commissioner gave his version of the story. They were here. Later, CAF intervened and organized a video conference between both parties, including some officers of CAF, including the general secretary and his deputy, and the director of competition and the technical director. And then the match belongs to CAF. They laid down the rules. They said then the match should go on, because their first instinct, first impression was, I believe they were carried about by the social media, other international tabloids and media reporting about the whole issue. And they said match should go on. Yes. Someone said, no, let's pray, let us not pray. I said, why? We have to play. If we did not play, we're going to lose. They're going to take the points. I give it to them, despite what happened. And we cannot do anything about it. The risks are there, very high risk. The coach was very paranoid, he was very confused, because these are players you don't own. You have to convince their clubs that you're going to put A, B, C, D in place. The clubs read the regulations, our own, the protocols they know about FIFA's, CAF's, and our own. And that convinced them to let their players on. Out of the... Some did not. And some did not. Some even refused to release them. And they would say, oh, alhamdulillah, we thought about it. Just imagine what's going in to the minds of Suleiman Mar's club today. One of our key players. Even the third test that he did on Saturday, the result would have been out the next day, anywhere in the world. But it was tactically delayed until Monday, because they knew that we may have the capacity of flying him in to play the match. That's the reality. That's the reality. So where is the sportsmanship spirit? I'll come into Suleiman's case later. So this is how the match was played. We did our best, and then the result is not everybody. But what I can assure you is that the Gambia Football Federation has no intention, and we don't have any hand in the process. And unfortunately, with all due respect to my dear friend Pierre Alain, the president of the Gambia Football Federation, General Anton Montamba owes him 1 million apologies. He owes General Anton Montamba 1 million apologies. The man was at the time enjoying the middle of his bed. He didn't even know what was going on at that time. The only people at that time communicated was myself and him and the chairman of our medical committee, Omar C., and those on the ground. I was not even talking to him. Only Pierre was on the ground. Pierre, it's only the protocol officer who was in the ground. Why? If I had known and clearly that my colleague president will be arriving here, that's normal. I would have been at the airport to receive him. That's normal. But we are lost in the arrival time. You don't even know when they are coming. I cannot just go and start. So then that's the problem. Otherwise, senior members of the federation would have been there. If we had known that the minister, a whole minister of youth sports, travel into a country, not being received by his colleague, not being received by any senior officer of the federation, then there are more to it than what they are saying. That's deceitful and unfortunately very dishonest on the side of our friends. Jana Tamba was nowhere around the airport. If they had any evidence to show that, because they are taking photographs, the way they are posting the photographs on the social media, let them post the face of Jana Tamba. The whole world will see it. And I call on my friend to apologize to Jana Tamba. It's all out of frustration and desire to fabricate and cook a story, and that wouldn't work. If it were not the action of calling a press conference and piling up certain non-facts together, we would have just issued a short press release to inform the Gambians of what happened, but we would have gone into details. But if you have seen what happened in there, when it comes to, I don't want to elaborate more on what we went through in Gabon. Gambians, we are used to that. We have a thick skin. Anytime we go and play, oh, we say, no, this one we don't, and then we forget. When they come, we often answer them. I wish you see the field that our team trains in Angola, in Luanda, the two times we went there. It's not better than Serekunda West or Serekunda or even Pakmboy. It's not better than, but we took it. We even tried at one point even to hire a private-owned, a private team, field, so that the boys can have a good training field. But nobody heard from them. And when they come here, we receive them with open hands. They are friends. Football is meant for that, but not with hostility. In addition to subjecting our players and delegation to 2 tests before the match, a lot of inconvenience ensued. And one thing I want to correct. It was in his press conference, he said they had chartered a plane to take us from Libreville to Franceville. But we had informed them as early as the 7th of November, that we are coming with our own chartered flight, and then we will use the same flight to Franceville. Can we make arrangements for the flight to land in Franceville and also to depart from Franceville to Banjul? Because we are aware that Franceville airport closes around 11 p.m. whatever. And the coach wants that after the match they get ready, they come to Banjul. Perfect. The emails are here. And all these emails are copied to CAF. I'm sure they will be very useful for the investigation panel. On the 12th, that was about 5 days before the match. Now he's saying that we don't inform them that at all. Very dishonest.
It's on the 7th, 5 days before.
On the 7th, I mean, yeah, before the match. You had given them ample time. But for them, they did not even have the courtesy of telling us we don't need your boss. Yeah. Until they came, they made their own arrangements. We are better. Even if we had informed them that very day, fine. I think it's still better. You know, we show respect to them. But if he's saying that they didn't tell us, that's not true. In fact, the emails are around, and everything is here, because these are emails that I ensure that every day we communicate with them, because we had a rough start with them. First, the issue of the visas. We had to follow, in fact, we ended up by writing to CAF. When the email to CAF dropped, barely 30 minutes, they send the approval for the visas. Barely 30 minutes. While we will follow them, because otherwise our players will have a problem even to start moving, because they assemble at Brussels. So even from their point of departure first, they will need these visas. And for them also to send us their list so that we can prepare the visa on arrival. We had to literally beg them about 3 emails with a series of WhatsApp messages that the General Secretary, no response. Just to avoid being found wanting, because at the end of the day, when they want to come and we don't have the visas, we are not, they will say Gambia denied us visa. Especially what we learn, we experience from them now. All the records are there. We had to literally report them to CAF to ensure that they send us their list and the passport copies to enable us to prepare visa on arrival for them. The facts are there. The issue of the flight, of our charter flight to have landing right in Gabon was another nightmare. This was arranged by a privately owned company, and I'm sure the investigators will reach out to them to find out what happened. In fact, there was a time it was a point of desperation. There was no response. I relied on my relations with my friend, my colleague. I communicated with her. I said, okay, I'll get back to you, I'll get back to you. When they got that landing right, it did not include Franceville. We had to struggle again. They got that at the last hour. In fact, the departure at the airport was even delayed, because the landing right was not handy at the time. It has to be delayed for some time. Now we anticipated that departure from Franceville, because Franceville normally they said is not for international departures, but because of the relationship, because of the urgency, they can have a waiver, and we were assured that they were going to give waiver. That was the time I was talking to Michael. Said, no, c'est fait, regular. You will have had a problem. There will no problem. It's okay. But the guys who are chartering the flight, the agency, were on my neck. Mr. President, you have a problem. Because if this happens, not only it's going to disrupt our operations, but there are very heavy financial, implications for us. And we don't want to share that burden on you, because it's a responsibility. And then we went. They said, okay, it will be fine. You will fly. What time do you want to fly out? they were given the time to fly out from Libreville after the match. Was it 1 a.m. or 1:30? I can't remember actually. 1:30. The match was played with the assurance that they're going to fly out. Everybody from Franceville to Banjul. Immediately after the match, quick dinner, freshen up to the airport. Only to arrive at the airport was closed. Closed. They said, oh, the people they are not working, they've gone home. Just imagine the frustration. If we had not had a good plan, we would have been in disaster. But because of the efficiency of the company that we use to do the arrangement for the hotel, they are able to get back to the hotel, spend the night. And then, I think the first departure schedule was 2 p.m. or 12 from Banjul, something like from Franceville to Banjul. That was changed more than 3 times because at their behest, because of them. The team could not depart until about 5 or something like p.m. instead of 2, 12, 2, 4, whatever. They delayed that, it was delayed until that. So, but we didn't make any noise out of that. Because these are things, sometimes when you talk about it, people think that you are looking for faults and you want to complain. We don't want, because these are things where we feel really shouldn't happen. But notwithstanding, it's not going to kill us. So when all those things happen, they came here without even confirming their arrival time to us. They just sneak into our country. I will use that word, sneak in. This poor gentleman was at the airport, he doesn't know what was happening. We had to rely on the control tower. Where is the spirit of sportsmen? Where is it? Where is the genuine? What were they trying to achieve? You arrive at the airport also, you refuse to surrender your COVID test report to the competent authority. He has a mandate to quarantine wherever he wants. He can even quarantine you at the airport. So them sleeping on the floors here and there, it's their own doing. They wanted it. Nobody forced them to do so. If they had complied, they wouldn't have been there. And nobody kidnapped anybody. That's a different thing. If anything, they were unruly. You've seen that they had fracasses with the security and immigration personnel, some of them in pouring water on them. And nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about that. We've seen the videos, what they were doing. Sleeping on the floor, fine. Maybe sometimes the tile is very cool, maybe you enjoy it. But it's not a problem. We don't wish that for them, but it's not our doing. It's not our own doing. Let's come to the other dishonest statement about Suleiman Mar. Suleiman is our player. That's not their business. It's not a player. If I tell you how many calls I received my colleague about Suleiman, he was more concerned about Suleiman than his own players. Your boys at the hotel want him to. When I called Suleiman, I said, Uncle, Mama Fem, nobody told me anything. I'm here, I'm fine. The hotel didn't tell team managers here. You talk to him. Even the day the team landed, you were in the same car, yourself and coach. I talked to you and coach talked to him. He said, no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no imminent eviction. No. The hotel wanted him out because I said, where is he going? Where would he go? So I see the handy hand beneath. All of a sudden we receive an email from CAF asking us about Suleiman Mar. We replied, and up to today there's nothing from CAF about it. If he should be concerned about Suleiman, we are more concerned about Suleiman. Not only that, he would have made a difference if he were on the pitch that day. I think we all agree with that. But he's our own. We don't want him to be there. There's not a day that I will not talk to Suleiman, except the day of the match itself. Every day I will talk to him, every day the team manager will talk to everybody. As far as we are concerned, the situation he is not desirable. He didn't want it. We don't want it, but we have less to do about it. They reported to us. And then what we did, when we realized they are the ones trying to push the hotel to send him out, we make arrangement. It's also lying that they make arrangements for Suleiman to be moved to another hotel. That's not true. It's Max Sport that arranged a Portugal campaign. We outsource the arrangement for hotels in both in Libreville and Franceville. They are the one I have the text message from Yusuf. After confirming with coach and then the team manager, he consulted me. We are partners. I said we got another hotel for Suleiman where he would not be hassled. He can live, stay there as long as possible. Do you approve it? I said, why? I approve. I have all those. I said, fine, go ahead. Suleiman was moved. We made arrangements with the Gambian community in Libreville also, who they will not only, I think, had only one opportunity for them to allow. They made so that they will not allow anybody to come and visit him. They did that. But if at all, for example, one reason and a technical reason that we didn't have anybody there, that's also, they calculated it. The executive committee member, Mr. Numukunda Kanyi, was designated and he agreed to stay over with him. It was arranged with the Gabonese that upon their return from Franceville to Libreville, they lift him to Libreville so they can join. The last minute they said no, they are not going, they have technicalities. And knowing them at that point in time, you can also leave that man also in a no man's land because you don't know what they're going to do. It was just about when they were going to the airport. Then we came in. We have a team manager. But we know the value and use of everyone. We know the importance of the man. We know the arrangements here. It's left to us now to decide who and when to. Expecting that when Suleiman would do the third test on Saturday, he'll be freed and he can fly in. We had already booked and everything was done for him. He did it on Saturday. The result never came on Sunday. It came late Monday. They said again positive. Can you trust them? But what I can tell you, Suleiman is well and good. I know the situation is not the least desirable. We abhor it. We wish it didn't happen. But because of this attitude and behavior, we suspect foul play. Definitely, we suspect foul play in the whole process. Since they cannot trust our own medical people to ascertain their test result, how would we accept their test result when it comes to Suleiman? When they refused to do the test at the hotel here, and followed the decision of CAF, it was at that time they handed over their test result to Omar C, chairman of our medical committee. The match went on. In fact, it was useless. It has no use. It has no use because with or without, the match will have a play. Whether they are purported, whether they are fake, whatever, we don't know. But we, with goodwill with it, when we hope and believe that all of us who had interacted with them or through third parties, that we are all safe. But this is only where in the 48 matches that were played over this period, that match was played without a particular team undergoing a test in the country. Nigeria went to Sierra Leone, despite they saw this, they were tested at the airport. Madagascar, the country of the CAF president, in Cote d'Ivoire it happened. Mali recently, Mali in Namibia, initially they refused, but when the tests were conducted, they got 8 cases. How many of Gabonese can we guarantee are not carrying the COVID, the virus? How many of us can guarantee that? But may Allah save us all and save our young players and the officials. Ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, I think this is what I have to, and then really it will be a big amiss if I did not also extend special thanks to the government of President Adama Barrow through the Minister Bakar Baji. Training camp that was held in Portugal, both financial, logistical, and moral support, and their solidarity with us. This is a challenge to us as a country, and we need everybody's hands on deck. Not only hands, but hearts and minds. This is Gambia we have. We can have divergence of views here and there, which is natural, which is very constructive, it's helpful, but let us have the same objective. We have nothing to hide, and then we are looking forward to the investigation to start so that we can put the facts on the table. And I'm sure the ladies and gentlemen on that committee are people of integrity and people of great competence, that they will do justice to the process. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We are now moving on to the next segment of the resolution, and that is question and answer. If anyone has a question about query, you want to share it out, please raise identify your media institution, and the question will be directed to the President, who will forward direct the answer. Yes, gentlemen.
Yes, my name is Muhammad Okashira from YouTube. My question is, it will start with a disappointment. Disappointment in the sense that I think African football has gone a long way, and we should be passing the stage of, teams being poorly treated, being it Gambia, being it Gabon, being it any other country. when you travel to a foreign country to play football, I think for the spirit of sportsmanship and for the spirit of fair play, it should be on the pitch. Both teams play. Whoever emerge winners become the winners. But with these things happening still in this 21st century in African football, it's really disappointing. And you people being at the helm of football in the Gambia and also maybe at the CAF level, what would you do in terms of changing of policies and talking about issues so that these things are avoidable? Because it's really disappointing. It has put the whole picture and image of African football, into bad light across the world.
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's unfortunate, it's embarrassing that we are still find ourselves in that situation. It's a big task on us as member associations and also on CAF and FIFA. I think that's nothing more than stiffer regulations and guidelines, which should be implemented without any partiality. That's very important. If the laws and regulations are laid down, it should be for everybody. It shouldn't be for cover and implemented or enforced for Omar. That's it. So I think it's a difficult one, since everybody is on top of the issue. It's aware of the issue, and I'm sure, I have no doubts that at the level of CAF, because at the end of the day, we as member associates, as I said, we, despite what we went through here and there, but we had an open mind, and we would have loved to welcome our brothers, as friends, as colleagues in the pitch. But unfortunately, their attitude of coming to us has left a lot to be desired. Was not friendly. A whole minister going to a country, flouting all protocols, bilateral and diplomatic protocols. An ambassador crossing into a country, the same thing. And you have a whole president of the Football Federation who doesn't even have a courtesy of letting his colleague, giving the colleague the pleasure of receiving him at the airport and hugging. And we've done it here many times. All the presidents that came here, I met them at the airport. I met them at the airport. That's Gambia, that's what we know. So then you can see that, then maybe there's something that is premeditated. They had a preconceived mind. If an advanced party traveling into a country, that's never happened. However hostile you think the match would be, when you get a report to the Federation first, they know when you are coming, you go to the Federation, you have meetings, you inspect, they escort you here and there. Never happened. Then, unfortunately, this is very bad. We are let down. We are let down despite what we went through there. But as I said, as far as we are concerned, it's not of much importance. What's important is what they had carried onto our soil. If they had stopped it there, fine. But they had left it there, fine. But they brought it onto our own soil and causing everybody this embarrassment and inconvenience.
During COVID, with all the regulations at the airport, which member association or which country will travel to another country 17 hours before the kickoff of the game? Very abnormal. When health is paramount, it is, those protocols are not in the hands of football federations. The Gabonese decided to arrive in country 17 hours before the kickoff.
And sneaked in, for that matter. They sneak in. They sneak in because they will not let us know when they are arriving. Like their previous bosses sneaked in.
Whatever the standard newspaper. I have 3 questions. I don't know whether I can ask them at once. The first one is with regards to the issue of the claim made by the Gabonese FA president that in fact they had presented their COVID certificates at the airport when they arrived. This has been disputed by, of course, health workers who were there. You told us that the health workers who were there informed you that this never happened. They refused to present their COVID certificates. But I just want to know whether the GFF have made efforts to confirm this afterwards. And the other question is, during his press conference, actually, he did mention the fact that CAF, of course, has rules that when a certain team player is tested positive of COVID and kept in that particular country, at least one member of the FA of the player's country must stay with him. We want to know whether you are aware of these rules, and if yes, why didn't someone stay behind with Suleiman Mar? The final one is, it's been already about 5 days since, of course, this whole thing happened at the airport. We just want to know whether, of course, CAF have contacted GFF to have your, of course, your side of the story.
Thank you, Mr. Ba. Let me start. Number one, it has been confirmed by the medical officials. I even had to reconfirm in the follow-up calls. I didn't talk to them directly, but General Secretary was talking to the chairman of the medical committee, was talking to them, because we tried to minimize any would-be influence on what they are doing. But if there is need be that we can advise, we can do. But it has been confirmed, and I can tell you it has been confirmed, unless they can prove otherwise, that they have handed over, they have presented their test results at the airport. That has not been done. Number two, relation to Suleiman not being attended, as I said, that was it technical. The intention was that somebody was identified. But Suleiman is in Libreville, and the match was played in Franceville. The idea was for the guy to join him at Franceville, because when this happened, they were already going to Franceville, to go back. Yet, our friends in Gabon deceived us. They gave us the assurance that they were going to fly with that guy back to Libreville so they can stay with him. So that was the bottleneck. But it was not an easy period for the officials, And then, I'm hoping also maybe the next text, because Suleiman, up to now, you speak to him, he said he doesn't have a single symptom. Up to today, he's 100% fit. You talk to him every day, tell you, Uncle, I don't have a single symptom. That's very, because my worry is health. That's very, very assuring. Alhamdulillah, that health-wise, I know psychologically, mentally, if it happened to any of us, it's not pleasant at all, it's not palatable. But the fact of the matter is that, alhamdulillah, is well and kicking. But the issue of somebody not saying was because we've been failed, our plan has been failed, and the last hour, it was difficult to do. The idea was, when you get back here, immediately after the match, one of the officials will join you. And we have since requested for them to issue visa to the officer to join them. Up to now, no response. I even had to write to CAF this morning. I wrote to CAF personally, to General Secretary and his deputy, asking them to prevail on the government, to send us a visa to the officer to go and join. But keep him company. But if you don't even know whether if anybody go, they wouldn't even allow the person to go into the hotel. It's a risky thing. It's a risky thing because now, the way they are, I don't know. Because if they will not allow even some government to take provision here and there to him, it's difficult. So but we'll try to exhaust all avenues. And then the last one was, I didn't write that. No, they haven't. CAF hasn't contacted us yet. As the administration decided to refer the matter to the disciplinary committee, and so the matter would have been referred to the chairman, the committee through the chairman, and he will convene, and whether it's going to be virtual, whatever, they would send us whatever they want to hear from us. But we are prepared for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry from Capital FM. But you didn't answer one of the officials who can you take us through on the issue of passports, because they also accuse your vice president of seizing their passport at the airport.
He was not there. So the passport was not seized. But it's normal. When you travel, the passports are in the hands of the immigration. They will not give because they travel in bulk, like us when we are traveling. It's not individually because it's a team. No, you have the privilege. The immigration will not release the passports when the health people did not clear them. It's just logic. When we arrive there, they have a passport. Sometimes you go, if I remember, Angola. How many days did it take us to receive a passport from Angola? Huh? Almost 3 days.
I had to report to the president.
Yes, I had to talk to my colleague. He called them. When we went to Angola with national team, 3 days, we could not receive our passport. It was even endangered because it should be presented for the match. Just imagine. So that's normal. But what I can tell you, that's a story. The general was never there, so he didn't have the passport. Whoever must have had the passport would have done it for the fact that they are not cleared by the immigration. Simple.
Just to ask you what is the impact. Exactly that's what happened. When they arrived and the passport were done, the immigration, the health authorities at the airport are very powerful. So I don't know whether you guys know.
We all know.
They have unprecedented powers when it comes to those who enter the country because of the coronavirus laws. So apparently when they refused to, when they were approached and refused to hand over their documents, it was the health officials who told immigration that their passports were not there to them. So the passports were given to them when like the president said, when the ambassador appealed and assured
The minister
and the ambassador and assured the health authorities that they can allow them to go to the hotel and they will be tested. That was their passport were handed over to them. Just for clarity, yeah? Yeah, sure.
Hey, Bibi.
There's a lady's hand up there.
Yeah, Salila.
Thank you so much. Amadou Barry, I work for the Senegalese media and German radio, Deutsche Welle. I have two questions. The first one has been answered. I watched a story on Canal Plus on the following day, and it shows the airport and everything on the ground. And the fact that I didn't see you in that report, I asked myself why I didn't give you the floor. I don't know if you have watched that story. And one conclusion that I can say is a bad image for the Gambia, as you have seen images, emerging virally, on the social media, players sleeping, on the floor. And don't you think that this is a bad image, and you guys maybe have to work on that, maybe to restore the truth, as you have, said today? And the secondly, maybe that one is extra. Maybe this incident is your counterpart, your Senegalese counterpart, Augustin Senghor, is contesting the CAF boss. I don't know what your take on that, and are you supporting him, and what is your reaction to that? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think the issue of the issue of the what's in the media here and there is that's why we are here today, and I will continue. But I'm sure the outcome of the investigation will be further vindicate us, because we are certain that we haven't done anything wrong. And as things emerge, as facts are coming out, you can see, I'm sure you'll be seeing some shift in some of the reportings. There are people who are, some will jump to things, but some will analyze, investigate, and come out. So I know it's not a pleasant one for us as a country, but our conscience is clear. We didn't do anything with bad intention. If anything, our friends came in with bad intention. Yeah. I think the facts are there. What I told you this. So now you now weigh it against what they've said, and then if you want further investigation, you can do investigation and make your conclusions, or put the two sides before the masses to judge. No, that's out of topic. Maybe you have another time for that, please.
Gabonese FA president said he sent a correspondent to you prior to their coming to the Gambia. In fact, that was the reason why they changed some of the logistics as to the time they're coming in. And you gave him some correspondent as to COVID-19. You gave him some response as the COVID-19 regulations in the country, and they can come in with a certificate of a COVID-19 test result valid for 48 hours. That is why they made some changes. What is the response to that allegation that you sent him some correspondent? That is why they could come at that time.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's cool.
And the second one...
I didn't even know when they are coming in the first place. I didn't know when they are coming.
And the second question will be, late after the incident that happened at the airport, we saw some pictures and images circulated on social media about some of the ill treatment meted on Gambian team in Franceville. Some are somehow saying, when things like this happen to the Gambia, people don't say it, people don't hear about it. And now if this happened, the Gambia is coming out to tell us this is what we've been encountering in other countries. Isn't that why they in fact planned this to happen to the Gabonese team?
No, as far as we are concerned, in as much as it's an inconvenience, but being used to traveling, especially traveling with delegations, those things are normal. There are bound to be delays, either at immigration or luggage here and there. Sometimes it gets heated, security here and there. So the members of the delegation having an hour or two, 30 minutes or 1 hour or two hanging around the airport. If you wish, you go and walk in the duty-free. If you want to go sit on your suitcase, or you want, you can lie down, have a place to put your head on. For us, I wouldn't say it's normal, but it's not unusual also in traveling, in terms of, especially for the team. So whatever would have led to that is because of the insistence on the test at the airport here and there, because of big push and pull. But as I said, it's their country. we oblige. So this is why we make it an issue. We don't have, and for us, it's not, maybe we didn't post that, how do you call it, officially. We didn't post that officially because we tend, it's not worth it. You know, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It happens. We travel last in Angola. How many hours would you take to go out? And it's happening everywhere. So those things are normal. Even as a private traveler, you go to airport and you have your hitch here and there. So if somebody who can fly in a jet, but the jet can only stop at the airport. I wish the jet, the jet can land on the pitch, he play and leave.
I think, President, ladies and gentlemen of the press, we've heard Gabon arrived 5 minutes to midnight, and they left before 6. Let's do the math. They did not sleep. They were supposed to play at 4 o'clock the other day. They arrived at midnight. In a normal situation, airport protocols can take 2 hours. We are in COVID. They refused to comply. So this notion, it was calculated by a high-profile star just to give us bad name. But the reality is actually there. It is our responsibility, like we said, for all of us, to claim the image. Gambia is known for our hospitality. We have no reason to be. They were at the airport less than six hours. It was not a whole day. They didn't have to sleep there, and they chose to come 17 hours. These are very important points that people should cover.
And the regulations are that the visiting team must be
a day before. Yeah,
exactly.
Day before.
The regulations are clear, like the team manager was saying. They should have been here 24 hours before the game, a day before the game, and they choose to come within.
They even had to forgo their rights to train at the stadium a day before the game, which every country does. Normally, it's your right to train at the stadium the time that the match is scheduled to play the next day. All of these things were well calculated so that they wouldn't have to be tested. And all the correspondence, especially that the lady said here, that the president had sent his arrival time to the president. Let me bring the evidence, because we have communications, all the email correspondences that have been sent to them to indicate our arrival time and all the tests that they were supposed to take, because it was communicated to them that once they arrive in the Gambia, they would be tested, results of which have to be provided to the match commissioner 2 hours before the game. I'm sure all of you are aware that Croatia and Turkey played last week, and the tests were taken. It was during the second half that they realized the Croatian defender, Vida's test result came out positive, and he was subbed. We had risked our players contracting COVID. What happens if our players are not allowed to play again? Because up to now, the Gabonese team haven't done the test. So who knows how many people must have had COVID in there? Because Suleiman Mar had his 72 hours test certificate. He was in Belgium, boarded the flight in there, joined the chartered flight with the whole team, and he was the only person that came out positive. So who knows how many players we had exposed to COVID. So this is something that the media also has to pick up and make sure people understand. Because allowing them to interact with our players, some of our clubs, Usman, the team manager, knows. He had to struggle to convince some of these players. Alassane Mane wouldn't be allowed to come. Suleiman Bojang, Noah Marong, all those players were not allowed to come because they feared that those people might contract the COVID-19 virus. So if we allow our players to play with these people, and then these things were not taken, then which means we have exposed our players.
Thank you. Let's take 2 final questions. Yes. I wanted to ask just one question, which is mentioned. Like you said, it was a total risk playing with a team that have not been tested with the COVID-19, which we know that in terms of protocols, and like you said, the Gambia Football Federation are not the owners of these players. They are from clubs. And also through the rules that we have seen, CAF and also FIFA has released as well, the clubs now probably have more power on the player than the nation itself. So what are you going to do to make sure that you convince the clubs as far as the situation is concerned? Because yes, their players and our players are at risk because they played against a group of players that were not tested of COVID-19. They entered the country without the test of COVID-19, which is also a risk to the whole nation as well. Few of your key players have not been allowed because of a risk of contracting this virus. And now they have played against a team that haven't taken this COVID-19 test. What are you to do to convince the clubs that, as far as the health and safety precautions are concerned, that the Gambia Football Federation will take a full responsibility as far as that is concerned? Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very good question. At the end of the day, we resign to fate. We resign to fate. What I mean, hope and pray, right? None of them return to their club and upon arrival test positive. Let's pray for that to happen. But we are able to establish a very good relations with the clubs. These are through the team manager, the communications that we are following. And they were convinced about our own internal protocols that was sent to them, and no club had an objection to it, despite the fact that they were still, those who didn't release their players had good reasons, their own reason not to. We'll continue the dialogue with them. It has even started. I've seen some correspondence on that. So we'll try to work, to capitalize on the existing good understand relations between them and us, and pray that the ultimate did not happen. But maybe team manager, you want to say one or two words? Please.
No, in addition to that, I am the contact person when it comes to the communication to clubs. Clubs.
Yeah. No, sir. Yeah. Talk.
No, I like to say I am the focal point of communication when it comes to the release of players in terms of getting the players requested and all other communications, in relation to that. It was not an easy one, especially during first it started with the camp from Portugal, but also this game against Angola, these games,
Gabon.
The two games against Gabon weren't easy. We had clubs like Sampdoria, Biashot, Hellas Verona. These are clubs that are very, very serious and very, very, rigid when it comes to player release. They would ask what is the state of preparedness, what is the flight itinerary, and what are some of the preventive measures that we are putting in place. Myself as a team manager, I prepare my checklist, I put to the federation what we need to do, to strategize what is the best way to try and get these things done. So these clubs would ask, what are you doing, what are your COVID response protocols, and what is the travel, itinerary for the player looking like, and what are also the accommodation stuff and everything. So for us as a federation, first of all, I checked, all the flights and every other thing in terms of commercial aspect. It wasn't feasible because if you have to, the window starts from the 9th to the 17th. All the commercial flights in most of these destinations now fly only once or twice in a week. So which means if a player leaves from the 9th, he might not get back to his club until 20-something, and the club has the right then to not release them. So when I checked that, also accommodation, it's a bit risky to put two players because it is the orthodox system of player accommodation is to put two players to a room. That has also its own, advantages for players, for team cohesion and all this other stuff. But we had to separate the players, every player to a room. It's each player to a room. I also sent that correspondence to the clubs. And the issue of the flights, when I knew it wasn't feasible, it wasn't going to be the best, clubs wouldn't agree to release the players, I said to the federation, I wrote a report and said, you know what, this is what is going to help the situation in order to get the players, because I cannot get my players. And this has been put together, the arrangement of flight, the accommodation, and the test of the players, because they ask also, how many times are you planning to test these players, when they arrive and when they leave, during the matches or before the matches. So I have to give them all those testing schedules and to further convince them. So all that has been done in conformity with the CAF rules and regulations, and the clubs, I can tell you, Sampdoria and Biashot, I already mentioned Hellas Verona, these are clubs that are really, really very interested. They send me emails almost every 30 minutes, every 1 hour during these games, during these preparations, to ask questions that are leading to the state of preparedness. So we did all that. The team went, all the players gathered, and we were able to play the games. So this shows that for us to be able to get these players, we have to go the extra mile. The federation has to move from the previous system of getting the players on a commercial flight to get them to a private plane to further convince the clubs to release them. Now, there is a question, or there is some fear in clubs not releasing their players because of the incidents that happened with some of their players, not our players. But I can tell you, until now, I have no communication from any of those clubs who would say, Usman, we are not going to release our player. The last email I got just early morning from from Verona was a different subject, because the player has to be assessed. We have to do a medical assessment. That is Ibrahim Akoli, to further inform the club, what was the injury that he couldn't play. So until now we are okay, because all the questions have been answered, and we've already put in place very good preventive measures, very good travel itinerary. I told the clubs, we are hiring a private plane so that our players could travel comfortably to this destination, so we won't have any problems in terms of travels. The testings were done quite effectively. It's a shame, for example, I said it in the technical meeting, if Suleiman had to travel with the team from Brussels to Libreville, and he had had his test certificate, that is 24 hours, not even 48 or 72. He did it a day before with the coach and all the players from Belgium, because I prepared the travels in groups. That is, if those that are in Brussels, those that are coming from Italy, those that are coming from Germany, to try to get them like this. So Suleiman had his test together with some of the players. They did the test in the same laboratory, got all the test results. They arrived together in Libreville, and they were tested. I told the match commissioner in Libreville, their second vice president was sitting. I said, do you people want to tell me the doctors or the laboratory in Libreville, is it more competent, or the doctors are more competent than the ones in Brussels? Because if it was done in Gambia, you can say probably we played with the result. But it is conducted in Brussels. We do not know the doctors. We have nothing. We have no interference whatsoever. And now we are surprised. But we will give you the benefit of the doubt. Myself as team manager would accept, and we will really allow Suleiman to be out of the game. But then we will have to follow up, and we see what led to that. Because the rules even say that if the player is tested positive, the samples, we have the right to get the samples and further send it to CAF, so that it will be done to further confirm. Suleiman was tested once, he was tested twice. In fact, for the second game, we still had Suleiman on the team list, because we knew he could get negative, and he would be flown flown into the country as soon as possible, so that he could be played. He could play in that game on Monday. But they knew it was a delay tactic, so they kept him again and said no, the results were ended until Monday evening. They brought until Monday evening they said no, he was tested again and he was positive. So for me, to be honest, I don't want to be in the middle of arguments and all these things, but I am saying what I know as team manager and what has inspired and what is the situation. Until now, I am in close contact with Suleiman. Until now that I am sitting here, I am in close contact with Suleiman, and I am really on schedule to fly to Libreville again on Friday. I do not know, I'm still waiting for visas, but I can assure you that Suleiman is well taken care of. The hotel that he is staying right now is a very good hotel. The manager is really deputizing to give him all what he needs, in my capacity as team manager. Thank you very much.
Our final question, please.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Star FM. Like, my concern or my question is Suleiman alone there in Gabon, or is there with someone from the Federation? Because I came late, sorry for that. I came late, yeah. So. Okay.
Maybe.
No problem.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that. I think we are all busy people, and with a short notice, we turn out large numbers. The final thing I want to say is, since General Tamba is here, and this is a digital world, nothing can be hidden. With all due respect, he's my younger brother. Otherwise, I will be hesitant to do it. I will ask him to take off his mask, and you zoom on him, and you can share the whole world. This is General Tombon Tamba, the third vice president of the Gambia Football Federation, that the Gabonese president, FF, Pierre Alain said, was the one tormenting them at the airport and holding their passports. Let him show us a single picture of whatever evidence to show that that gentleman, whoever was there, was General Anton Tamba. Please, General, with your permission, sir. Yes. Yeah. So I want the whole world to see General Anton Tamba, because Pierre Alain, president of Gabonese Football Federation, mentioned his name many times, and it's not fair. And I really request him to apologize to General Tamba. Mon cher frère et ami président Pierre Alain, je vous souhaite et je vous demande d'envoyer votre excuse fraternelle à notre général Lanto Tamba, troisième vice-président de la Fédération gambienne de football. Il n'était jamais à l'aéroport, ce n'était pas lui qui a pris votre passeport. Merci. Thank you all.